Have you ever felt as life is happening to you, rather than through you? Like no matter what you do, something inside keeps holding you back? That invisible force, the quiet, persistent voice that says, "You are not enough," is what Carl Jung called the ego. The ego is a part of you, yes, but it is not the totality of who you are. It is the mask you wear, the role you play, the self-image you cling to. And while it can help you navigate the world, it often becomes the very thing that limits your freedom, your happiness, and your growth. Think of it like this: your ego is a puppet master, quietly pulling the strings of your life. It thrives on fear, comparison, and the need for control. It tells you what to do, how to act, and even who to be. And when you live under its rule, your life becomes a series of compromises, distractions, and unfulfilled desires. But here's the truth Jung taught us: beyond the ego lies the self, the deeper, wiser, more authentic part of you. The self is the source of creativity, love, and clarity. It is the part of you that longs to live fully, freely, and intentionally. The journey I want to take you on today is one of discovery and empowerment. We will explore the nature of the ego, uncover the shadows it hides, and learn practical ways to reclaim your life. This is not just theory, it is a roadmap to living authentically, mastering yourself, and finally breaking free from the patterns that hold you back. By the end of this journey, you will see your ego not as an enemy, but as a part of yourself that can be understood, guided, and even transformed. And when you master it, you reclaim your life, your choices, your purpose, your freedom. If you are ready to step into this journey, to confront the parts of yourself that have been controlling you, and to awaken the life you were meant to live, then let us begin. To master your life, you must first understand the ego, not as an enemy, but as a part of yourself that has its own needs, fears, and patterns. The ego is the voice inside your head that identifies with I, the part of you that navigates the world through logic, desires, and social roles. It is necessary. Without it, you could not function in society. But it is also limited. Imagine the ego as the captain of a small rowboat. It can steer you across calm waters, but it cannot navigate the vast, unpredictable ocean of your inner life. That larger ocean, your unconscious mind, your intuition, your true self, is far deeper, far wiser, and far more powerful. And when the ego forgets its place, it tries to command the ocean, often with disastrous results. The ego thrives on control. It seeks certainty in an uncertain world. It compares itself to others and measures its worth through achievements, approval, and external validation. And while these things may feel rewarding temporarily, they never fill the deeper longing inside you. That longing is the call of yourself, gently inviting you to step beyond the ego's limitations. Here's the subtle danger: the ego often disguises itself as virtue, ambition, or righteousness. It tells you, you must be successful, or you must be strong, or you must never show weakness. And you obey, believing that this is who you truly are. But in truth, the ego is only a mask, a protective identity formed from your experiences, your fears, and your attempts to survive in the world. Understanding your ego means noticing these patterns. It means recognizing the voice that criticizes, judges, or demands. It means observing how it reacts when you face failure, rejection, or uncertainty. Ask yourself, is this really me, or is this my ego trying to protect itself? One practical way to start this process is through self-reflection. Pay attention to the moments when you feel anxious, jealous, or defensive. Notice the stories your mind tells itself, the excuses, the justifications, the comparisons. These are clues to your ego's influence. The more you observe, the more power you reclaim. Another key insight is that the ego is not fixed. It is not who you are at your core. It is something that can evolve, expand, and integrate with the larger self. By understanding it, you can begin to transform it from a controlling force into a wise companion. The ego becomes a servant, not a master. And this is the first step toward reclaiming your life: awareness. Awareness of the ego's patterns, its fears, its desires. Awareness of how it shapes your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Only when you see it clearly can you begin to work with it, rather than against it. If understanding the ego is the first step, then self-awareness is the bridge between knowing and truly reclaiming your life. Self-awareness is the quiet, deliberate act of observing yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your impulses, without judgment. It is the flashlight that illuminates the dark corners of your mind, revealing the patterns and motives that the ego hides. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, but this is no ordinary mirror. It reflects not just your face, but the entire inner landscape of your mind. Every insecurity, every fear, every desire is visible. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. We are not used to seeing ourselves so honestly. The ego resists this reflection. It fears exposure. But if you can look deeply, without flinching, you begin to see yourself as you truly are, not just the mask, not just the role, but the whole person. Self-awareness allows you to notice the subtle ways the ego influences your life. Perhaps you find yourself comparing your success to others, craving recognition, or avoiding discomfort. Maybe you react with anger, pride, or fear, without even understanding why. These are all signals, messages from your ego that are waiting to be understood. The key is not to fight these impulses but to observe them. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What story is my mind telling me? Is this really me? Or is this my ego responding to a perceived threat? In doing so, you begin to separate the voice of the ego from the voice of your true self. One powerful method is journaling. Write down your thoughts as honestly as possible. Record your fears, your judgments, your desires. Over time, patterns emerge. You begin to see how the ego repeats the same cycles, how it clings to old wounds, and how it shapes your behavior in ways you were not aware of. Another method is mindfulness or meditation. Simply observing your breath, your thoughts, or the sensations in your body trains the mind to notice without reacting. When a critical thought arises, notice it. When a surge of anger or jealousy appears, acknowledge it. These practices create a space between you and your ego, allowing you to respond consciously rather than react automatically. Self-awareness is not a destination, it is a lifelong journey. But every moment of awareness strengthens your connection to yourself. It gives you the power to make choices aligned with your deepest values, rather than the ego's fleeting demands. It allows you to live intentionally, to act from presence rather than habit, and to reclaim the freedom that has always been yours. And here is the paradox. The more you become aware of your ego, the more liberated you are from it. Awareness does not destroy the ego, it transforms it. The ego becomes a tool, a guide, rather than a tyrant. And in this transformation lies the possibility of living a life of clarity, purpose, and joy. In the next section, we will venture into the hidden realm of the shadow, the parts of yourself that the ego hides, denies, or fears. Facing the shadow is not easy, but it is the gateway to profound personal growth. For when we embrace the parts of ourselves we have long rejected, we discover the depth, strength, and authenticity of our true self. Here is a part of yourself you rarely see. A part that you hide, deny, or push away. Carl Jung called this your shadow. The shadow is the collection of thoughts, impulses, desires, and fears that your ego cannot accept, so it buries them deep in your unconscious. And yet, as much as you try to ignore it, the shadow shapes your life. It appears in your reactions, your judgments, and your relationships, often without your awareness. Imagine a dark room. You walk in, holding only a small candle. The shadows loom large on the walls, flickering and shifting. At first, you may feel fear, discomfort, even denial. But the shadows are not your enemies. They are messages, parts of yourself trying to be seen, acknowledged, and integrated. Your shadow may show up as anger, jealousy, or selfishness. It may appear as insecurities, fears, or unspoken desires. Perhaps it is the part of you that criticizes yourself relentlessly, the part that seeks validation, or the part that fears failure. These are not flaws, they are fragments of your humanity. When ignored, they control you. When faced, they empower you. To discover your shadow, begin by observing your triggers. Notice the moments when you react with intensity, anger, fear, shame, or envy. Ask yourself, why did this situation provoke me? What part of myself am I denying or resisting? Often, these reactions point directly to the shadow. Another pathway is reflection on recurring patterns in your life. Are there relationships that always seem to fail? Habits you cannot break? Dreams you abandon too quickly? These patterns often signal the presence of the shadow, whispering truths that your ego does not want to face. Journaling is again a powerful tool here. Write honestly about your feelings, especially those you consider negative or unacceptable. Over time, you will see the shadow not as something to fear, but as a teacher, a guide revealing what has been hidden, what has been repressed, and what is waiting to be integrated. Integration does not mean indulging the shadow or being ruled by it. It means acknowledging it, accepting it, and learning from it. When you embrace your shadow, you reclaim energy that was previously wasted in resistance. You gain clarity, creativity, and strength. You begin to act from wholeness, not from fear or denial. Consider this: every great transformation in human history, every act of courage, creativity, or profound insight, has involved a confrontation with the shadow. To refuse this confrontation is to remain bound by the ego, small and limited. To embrace it is to step into the fullness of life, to reclaim your power, and to live authentically. The journey into the shadow is challenging, but it is also the gateway to freedom. For beyond the shadow lies the self, the vast, integrated, and wise presence that is your true nature. And the more you confront and integrate your shadow, the more your ego transforms from a limiting force into a guiding ally. In the next section, we will explore practical strategies for mastering your ego, tools you can use every day to reclaim your life and live intentionally. These are the steps that turn understanding into action, and action into freedom. Now that we have explored the ego and the shadow, it is time to move from understanding to action. Mastering your ego is not about eradicating it. It is about guiding it, transforming it, and making it a tool for your growth rather than a master over your life. The first strategy is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the simple, yet powerful, practice of observing yourself in the present moment. Notice your thoughts, feelings, and impulses without judgment. When you catch yourself reacting from ego, whether through anger, pride, or fear, pause and reflect. Ask, is this thought serving me, or is it the ego's voice trying to protect itself? With regular practice, you create space between stimulus and response, allowing conscious choice to replace automatic reaction. The second strategy is journaling and reflection. Set aside time each day to write honestly about your thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Explore the moments when the ego influenced your decisions or reactions. Document your triggers, your patterns, and your victories. Writing illuminates the unconscious mind, helping you recognize and integrate the shadow, and gradually weakening the ego's unconscious control. The third strategy is confronting fears and discomfort. The ego resists anything that threatens its sense of control, so it often avoids discomfort. But growth lies precisely where discomfort exists. Step into situations that challenge you, speak your truth, face difficult conversations, or try tasks that feel intimidating. Every time you act consciously rather than reactively, you reclaim authority over your ego. Another crucial practice is embracing humility and curiosity. The ego thrives on certainty, judgment, and comparison. When you adopt humility, you acknowledge that you do not have all the answers. When you cultivate curiosity, you observe without condemning. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? What does this emotion reveal about me? Curiosity transforms ego-driven defensiveness into insight and growth. Integration of the shadow is another transformative tool. As we discussed, the shadow is not your enemy. It is part of you longing to be acknowledged. Practice noticing the impulses, fears, or desires that arise and accept them without shame. Ask, what can this shadow teach me? How can I integrate it into a more whole, conscious version of myself? In doing so, the ego is no longer a rigid controller. It becomes a guide, aligned with the deeper self. Finally, cultivate practices that connect you to the self: meditation, creative expression, nature, or deep reflection. These practices remind you that you are more than the ego's stories, fears, and attachments. They strengthen your sense of purpose, clarity, and presence, creating a life where ego serves, rather than dominates. Mastering the ego is a daily journey. It is not a one-time achievement, but a continuous practice of awareness, reflection, courage, and integration. Every small act, pausing before reacting, choosing curiosity over judgment, embracing a hidden part of yourself, gradually reshapes your inner world. And here is the reward. When the ego is guided by awareness rather than instinct, you reclaim your power. You live intentionally. You experience life with clarity, authenticity, and freedom. You are no longer a servant to fear, comparison, or validation. Instead, you become the captain of your inner and outer world, navigating with wisdom, courage, and self-mastery. Now, imagine what it feels like to live fully, free from the unconscious grip of your ego. To reclaim your life is not merely to survive, or to react to circumstances. It is to live intentionally, with awareness, courage, and authenticity. It is to step into the fullness of who you are, guided not by fear or comparison, but by the wisdom of your true self. When you master the ego, you reclaim not only your choices, but your energy. No longer do you waste time trying to prove yourself, comparing yourself, or chasing validation. Instead, your energy is devoted to creating, connecting, and expressing the deepest truths of your being. You begin to see opportunities where before there were obstacles, and solutions where before there were problems. Reclaiming your life also means embracing responsibility. The ego often seeks to blame others, circumstances, or fate for our difficulties. Mastery comes when you acknowledge, I am responsible for my choices. I am responsible for how I respond. I am responsible for my life. This is not a burden, it is liberation. When you accept responsibility, you reclaim power. You see clearly that while you cannot control everything, you can control your awareness, your decisions, and your actions. Consider the power of authentic relationships. When the ego no longer dominates your interactions, you begin to connect with others from a place of honesty and presence. You listen without judgment, communicate without defensiveness, and love without neediness. You no longer seek to control, impress, or compete. You simply show up as yourself. And in doing so, you inspire authenticity in others. Reclaiming your life also means embracing your creativity and purpose. The ego often suppresses your true gifts, hiding them behind fear, doubt, or conformity. When you master your ego, you free these gifts. You explore your passions without attachment to approval. You express yourself without fear of judgment. You live in alignment with what truly matters, rather than what seems safe or acceptable. And finally, reclaiming your life is about peace and freedom. The ego thrives on conflict, comparison, and unrest. As you guide it with awareness, it no longer controls your mind or your emotions. You experience a profound sense of calm, a sense of being fully alive, fully present, and fully at home within yourself. This is not a distant dream. It is available here and now, in this very moment. Each step you take toward understanding, integrating, and mastering your ego is a step toward reclaiming your life. Every moment of self-awareness, every courageous choice, every shadow you embrace, brings you closer to living as your authentic self. Remember, life does not happen to you. You are not a passenger. You are the navigator, the creator, the conscious force behind your existence. The ego may whisper, resist, or fear, but you have the power to listen, to observe, and to act from the clarity of your deeper self. The journey to master your ego and reclaim your life is ongoing, but it is the most worthwhile journey you will ever take. For beyond fear, beyond comparison, beyond limitation, lies your true self, whole, free, and alive. And that is where your life begins. As we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect. You have explored the nature of the ego, confronted the shadows it hides, and discovered the power of self-awareness. You have seen that the ego, while a part of you, is not your entirety, and that beyond it lies your true self, whole, free, and alive. Now is the moment to act. Knowledge alone does not transform life, action does. Begin with awareness. Notice the moments when your ego reacts, when fear, pride, or comparison takes over. Observe these moments without judgment, and make a conscious choice instead. Step into discomfort. Face the parts of yourself you have ignored or denied. Embrace your shadow. Ask the hard questions. What am I hiding from myself? What patterns are controlling me? How can I act from my true self rather than my ego? Every answer you uncover is a key to your freedom. Practice mindfulness, reflection, and creative expression. Make space each day to connect with your inner self. Each small step strengthens your ability to guide your ego instead of being guided by it. Remember this: mastery of the ego is not about perfection. It is about conscious choice. It is about reclaiming your life moment by moment, decision by decision. It is about living with courage, presence, and authenticity. Imagine the life you could create if fear, doubt, and comparison no longer dictated your choices. Imagine relationships where you connect deeply, freely, and authentically. Imagine waking each morning fully alive, fully aware, and fully in command of your own path. This life is not beyond your reach. It begins now, with every conscious step you take. So I invite you, reclaim your life. Begin today. Observe your ego, embrace your shadow, and step boldly into the life you are meant to live. Transform knowledge into action. Transform fear into awareness. Transform limitation into freedom. The journey is yours to take. The power is yours to claim. The life you have been seeking, your life, fully lived, is waiting. Master your ego, and reclaim it now.